All right, everyone, how are we doing? I'm excited to be up in here. I am truly pumped and ready to rock and roll, ready to rock and roll. Listen, if you're stopping by for the first time, if you see me for the first time, if you're just tuning in for the first time, I want to encourage you to run over there to andrewguyspeaks.com and pick up a copy of this book, The Anatomy of the Kingdom and the Power of Community, an amazing book that I think you should get a copy of it. The course is coming out very soon, so make sure you run and get a copy of it. Other book that I would love for you to take a look at is Work Your Words, Finding Your Pathway to Personal Success by yours truly, Andrew E. Guy. Course is coming out very soon. So I just want you to run over there and grab some of this material and get it in your hand. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about resiliency. And of course, that's my, this has become the topic that I will talk about the most. Whether we're talking about resiliency in business, whether we're talking about resiliency in schools, whether we talk about resiliency in education, whether we're talking about resiliency in your faith, whether we're talking about resiliency in your finance, whether we're talking about resiliency in your fitness and wellness and mental well-being, social skills, it doesn't matter. It's all about resiliency for me. That's just kind of where the ball stops. I just think that there is nothing more vitally important in life than to be resilient. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how to overcome your doubts, and allow resiliency to see you through. I'll say it again, how to overcome your doubts and allow resiliency to see you through. All right, so let's start off a little bit. I got some notes here that I want to I have jotted down, and I'm going to be bouncing through these notes as we move to this recording. I put it up here so I can look at it and see as we move forward. But when we talk about resiliency, really, what in the world is resiliency? When we talk about resiliency, we're really talking about stay in power. And stay in power means longevity. Stay in power means the refusal to quit. And I'm not talking about your typical cliche, hey, don't quit, don't give up. No. I'm not talking about the cliche, don't give up type of thing. I'm not talking about the type of resiliency where they say, hey, it's just about bouncing back. I'm talking about the type of resiliency that is stay in power. Stay in power, what I'm talking about is that a lot of things will happen to you. The road of life, on the journey of living, I said the road of life and the journey of living. The road of life really is the path. The journey of living is the act of moving along that pathway. So journey is different from road. See, the journey is the actual steps that you have to take. The journey is where you get developed. The journey is where you get to see what you're made of. The journey is when you get to understand that the one thing that's going to take you through to the end of the journey or the end of your starting is resiliency. Resiliency comes when character is in place. I'll say it again. Resiliency comes when character is in place. It's very difficult, very seldom that you're going to be resilient and don't have any kind of character. And most people ask me, so Andrew, what in the world is character? Well, character really simply means it's what you do when nobody's watching you. Character is your personal video camera. Character is your personal surveillance. I said surveillance, so just to make it, all inclusive, surveillance and misveillance. So sir for the dudes, miss for the female. So that's what it is. Character is your personal surveillance. It watches you all the time. It sees everything that you do. You can't hide from character. Character sees you before you recognize it. So in order for you to be resilient, you got to have character first. Character must be in place. Does that make sense? I want to talk to you a little bit about now about a blueprint that you can use to develop your character. Have it all jot down here on my phone. I define it a blueprint as an authentic representation of a tried and tested method of arriving at an expected end. I'll say it again. A blueprint as it relates to resiliency and authenticity is the authentic representation of a tried and tested method of arriving at an expected end. People who are not tried, people who have never been tested, it's very seldom and difficult and arduous for them to be resilient. And if they struggle with resilience, 99.9% they are struggling with a character issue, because resiliency is all about refining the character. That is exactly what resiliency is. And as we move through this little call to action today, I want to talk to you and give you some anecdote. I want to give you some strategies. I want to give you some skills that you can apply to yourself to build that resiliency that will fortify the character, that will keep you stable over the journey of your life. So let's talk about this. The blueprint is the foundation of everything you desire to imagine, to build, or to create. When we look at the blueprint is the thing without the structure. If you have a home or something like that, you don't just really see the home. You actually have a blueprint that is sketched out. And as you know, Walt Disney once said, imagination is coming of attraction, or it's the coming attraction. So imagine that the blueprint is the imagination of the home, or should I say the house that you want to build. That's exactly what it is. It is a house that is already mentally built, but not physically structured. That's what a blueprint is. Your blueprint is on the inside of you. And when you understand your blueprint, and your blueprint is the things that you are created to do in this lifetime. It is you. For example, your blueprint is an example of your fingerprint. And here is what I want you to understand, that no two fingers are the same. Isn't that amazing? That no two fingers are the same, and no two individuals are the same. Every fingerprint is different on your own hand and in other people. You are one original. There is no copy of you. There is no copy of your fingerprints. You are that one original. That one original has a purpose in life to bring about a gift, a skill set, or a thought process or a methodology that's supposed to transform anybody that they come in contact with. It's an authentic representation of the true you. That's your blueprint. You can't tamper with it. You can't change it. But here's what you can do. You can leave it dormant. You can leave the blueprint dormant, meaning instead of using the blueprint to create the product from that blueprint, you will cast it aside. You may not even believe that that's really what you're supposed to do. You know, it reminded me of a story of when I wrote one of my books, The Anatomy of the Kingdom here. It took me 6 years to write that book because I was trying to lay the seed of the book dormant instead of burying it into the ground and cultivating it. I didn't really believe that I can write a book. I didn't believe that I can write such a book that is so in-depth and use the anatomy and the physiology of the human body to explain a concept of the kingdom. I had no idea. I didn't believe I could do this. But my creator empowered me to understand that I put this purpose in you. And if I say you can do it, rest assured it's already done. Yes, it took me 6 years because I didn't believe it. I wasn't confident enough. I wasn't sold on the fact that I I can write such a book. I would really encourage you to go pick up this book here. This book is going to help you to understand who you are, your identity, and how your identity plays a massive role in the grand scheme of things. You are part of a bigger picture. And if you take yourself out of the picture, then the picture is incomplete. Going back to what I said about the hand, if I need to make a fist and I take a finger out, I do not have a fist. If I have a piece of cloth and I pulled one of the strand or one of the threads out, it's no longer a complete piece of cloth. It's now subjected to being destroyed. So what I want to say to you, I want to say to you that resiliency is a staying power that is a result and a replication of your character. It is a representation of your character. Resilient people have character. And if you have character, you have credibility. And if you have credibility, you have what I call resilient staying power. Let's jump down to the other one. Your goal is to use your lived experience as a compass. Your goal is to use your lived experience as a compass. And what does that simply mean? Your lived experience is the stories that come as a result of what you've been through. When you tell people what you've been through, you become a compass to them because you become an example. And so they, who are currently on their turbulent waters, and I'm going to use some metaphors here. I'm going to break it down so you can understand it. The turbulent water represents the ups and downs that you're going to go through in life. The turbulent water is going to represent the trial and error, the mistakes that you're going to make, the failures and your triumphs. The turbulent water are the good days and the bad days and the not so okay days, but you're still a living, right? That's the turbulent water. And so it's going to be up and down. It's going to be turbulent. It's going to be chaotic at times. And so I want you to understand, with those ups and downs and turbulent water, I want you to stay focused and keep your eye on the light tower, because the light tower is going to be the thing that brings you back to the harbor. It's going to bring you back to the true self. Doesn't matter where you go in the world. Character is a staying power, like a light tower that brings you back home. If you look what's going on in Hollywood right now, it's turbulent. There's a lot of things that happen in Hollywood. These are the same people that we worship. These are the same people that we praise. These are the same people that we spend millions of dollars watching their movies, consuming their content, consuming what they do and their works and their products. But Hollywood is in trouble. Hollywood is in trouble because there's not much character there in Hollywood. People are trying to be resilient outside of the character. It won't happen. Resilient makes character. Character make resilient works. Does that make sense? Your lived experience should not be used as a hammer. It shouldn't be used as a whip. It shouldn't be used as a shut door that block people out from having opportunity to express themselves. Your story should be used to liberate. Your story are really keys that open doors so other people can see themselves, to accept themselves for who they are, embrace themselves and their idiosyncrasies and their faults, the goods and bad, the cracks and the smooths, the falters, and still get up and say, you know what? I have a gift and a purpose in me. I'm going to use it to impact the world. Your lived experience are a compass to people who are looking to find their way on turbulent waters. I want to encourage you, don't quit. Because if you quit now, then those people who are trying to find their way will not have any sight of the tower. And so without the light tower, they don't know where to go. Be a light tower for somebody today. Be a light tower. Don't give up. I want to talk to you about what your LEs are. LEs. If you're taking notes, just write some things down. LE is your life experience or lived experience. These are a collection of everything that affects and infects you from the inside out. Let me say it again. Your lived experience are simply a collection of everything that affects you and infects you from the inside out. These are your thoughts, how you think about yourself, your disposition, your philosophy, your beliefs, your values. All of these things affects you from the inside out. And they are a collection of the many years that you've spent thinking, acting, doing, and believing all of those things that helps to make you not the individual, but the characteristics that people now come to see. That's what those things do. They create a mindset that governs a behavior that becomes a routine and a way of life. What do I want to say to you about that? I want you to go back and evaluate those lived experience. Some of them you were living because someone told you that's who you are. Some of them you were living because somebody said, hey, you're not going to be anyone. Some of them you're living because you bought into the falsehood of what somebody said that you're not going to be, or what they think you are, or their perception of you. You bought into that. You live in it. You become it. I want you to go back and I want you to analyze those things. And wherever you see an indication that you're following the crowd or looking outside of the window, I want you to put a line through that. First, I want you to write them all down on a piece of paper, and I want you to put a line through that. And you say, Andrew, what are you talking about a window? What does that have to do with anything in a crowd? When I talk about a window, I'm talking about how we spend most of our time watching other people. So when we say we're watching someone, that is called the window experience, when we're out there watching other people. But what we should be doing in those times is paying attention in the mirror, because we can see no one else but us in the mirror. So what we need to do is to make sure that we're looking more and paying more attention to the mirror instead of looking outside the window, because the window is only focused on what's happening out there. But we need to turn that focus and look on what's happening in here. I want to encourage you to turn that light around, turn that magnifying glass around and start looking at you. Work on you first before you entertain the crowd. Here's a concept that I want you to take when we talk about building resiliency and how resiliency and character goes together. I want you to think of a sharpener, and I want you to think of a pencil. You are the pencil. Does that make sense? You are the pencil. Your purpose is the lead. Are you getting this? You are the pencil. The purpose is the lead. I'm going to use this here as an example, just as an illustration to make sure you can get it, because I don't have a pencil around with me right now. I do, as a matter of fact. So when I look at this is a pencil, right? And I'm going to focus on this end of the pencil. You see that right there? This end of the pencil, using a marker, by the way, to illustrate this. That's the end of the pencil. Okay? My goal in life is to write something. That's my goal. My goal is just to write something. But can I write with this? Look at it. Can I write with that? No. But this is you. You are the pencil. and your purpose is the lead. The writing process is when you take your skills, your gifts, your expertise wrapped up, we call that your talents, and you use those to impact the world and the globe. But you're not able to do that. The doing of that is purpose in action, purpose in motion. You're not able to write right now because your lead has not been exposed. You have not identified your purpose. How about the sharpener? What does the sharpener have to do with the pencil and the lead? Very simple. The sharpener represents isolation. The sharpener represents loneliness. But whatever you think about the sharpener gives the pencil its shape, but it also exposes the lead. You as a pencil may have all the gifts, skills, and expertise in the world, but if you have not gone through the sharpener of living, you will not have a point to make. Did you get that? If you don't go through the sharpener of living, you will not have a point to make. What's the purpose then, Andrew, of going through the sharpener? So that your lead will be exposed. Your lead will be exposed, and the lead is your purpose. When your purpose is exposed, it means that you have discovered what your purpose is. When you discover what your purpose is, then you can take action to use and to follow your purpose by activating the other skill set that fuel your purpose. And when you live purposefully, it brings meaning to your life. Your life is a gift, but your living is your way or your methodology that is used to validate the life you were given. Life is the gift. Living is the process of opening up that gift and using the skill set that you've discovered, like the lead that you have discovered inside your pencil, your inner being, and using that to transform the world. We're still talking about resiliency. We're still talking about character and why character is a necessary component to building resilient people. We're saying that your lived experiences are a collection of everything that affects you and infects you from the inside out. Let's jump down to the next one. We really don't have the same experience. No two individuals have the same experience. Even if you're standing inside the same room, even if you're standing at the same side of the road, driving the same car, sitting in the same car, you do not have the same experience. All of your experiences are specific to you. How you see the world is specific to you. No two people have the same vision. No two people have the same view. Because how you see something is called perspective. I see from this perspective, but perspective may be how you are seeing it. Perception is your interpretation of your perspective. Point of view is the angle from which you see it. So we talk about point of view, it has to do with location or locale. When we talk about perception is your interpretation of what you see and how you make sense of it when you compare it to other events that are either similar or even different in the world when other people do them. We're still talking about resiliency. We're still talking about how character is the main component of resiliency. And resiliency is the most important component that you need to walk this journey, to have the life and to live the life that you've always dreamed of. I want to skip down to the other part, and I want to give you this analogy. I just mentioned to you that we don't have the same experience. We all breathe oxygen, but we process it differently based on our cardiorespiratory function. Some people have poor lung capacity. Some people have a reduced capacity to basically process the oxygen and the O2. That's the capacity of the lung. That's what it does, the respiratory system. This piece alone can take several days to unpack, but I'm going to give it to you in the simplest form. The takeaway here is for you to understand that the makeup of the humanity, that we possess the resources of living differently. Some of us are tall, some are short, some are thin, some are thick. Some move faster than the other. All of these different things. We may have different accent. The reason why we are so differently the same is because we're supposed to use our differences. We're supposed to use all of these different things and bring them together to benefit the community of humanity. Yeah, you're not created to live for yourself. You may be by yourself, but you're definitely not alone. But you're supposed to use those skill set and bring them together and use them to create and impact your community. I want to go out on a limb and I want to say this, that you know what? The most important thing, the greatest thing that people live for on earth is not to have a bigger house, bigger car, or bigger this, bigger that, or the perfect situation. Is really to create impact. Deep down on the inside of us, our goal, our number one goal is to have an impact. And impact means a refusal to leave a space that you've entered in than when you came before you left. Impact is a refusal to leave the earth in the same state that you saw it in when you first came. That's impact. I have impacted the area. Let's say, for example, the people who are doing constructions on the road, they created a sidewalk. Everything is done perfectly, beautiful. Cement looks amazing. And then you go and step inside the cement, then it dries. That's impact because you have not left the sidewalk the same way it was when you first came. And here's the crazy part about impact. Impact also leaves room for others to have their own impact amid and inside of your impact. So I want you to think about that. Your impact is going to cause other people to have their own impact. Your impact can't steal the thunder from somebody else because we're all impacted by each other. Where we live, work, and play, and even where we pray. So I want you to think about that. I'm going to jump down to the next one. This is a little lengthy, but if you're taking notes, I hope you are. Write these down because this will help you to understand how character is the main ingredient that build resilient people. Every lived experience should lead to a lesson learned that should become a life lesson. Every lived experience should lead to lessons learned that should over time become life lessons. What I simply mean is that I'm not living haphazardly. I'm not just living by chance. I know exactly what's happening. Oftentimes you may not, but at the end of it, are you able to reflect on what was done or the experience that you have and use this to extrapolate some meaning out of it? That's what I'm asking you to do. Don't live by chance, but take a chance to live fully with meaning. Whatever you're doing, stop and reflect. Doesn't matter what you're doing, even if you're driving. Even if you got to pull over. Think about the experience that you're having. And here's why you got to do that. Because look at it. There's some people right now who would trade anything to do what you're doing. There's some people who are in the ICU who wish they could stand up, and you're complaining because you're standing up for too long on the bus. There's some people who wish they can trade your place the ability to walk in the park and look at the trees and the greenery because they're trapped inside a wheelchair. There's some people who would trade anything to do what you're doing. You're complaining about not having enough food or this dry bread, and they wish they could swallow because they're drinking out of a straw. There's some people who wish they can have what you have because now you have the ability to see, but they can't. Be grateful for what you have and look at your lived experiences as lessons learned so they become life lessons. Why? So they can be a compass to other people who you may help to avoid the same mistakes that you have gone through. In order for you to do that, you gotta have character. In order for you to do that, you gotta be resilient. And in order for you to be resilient, you must have character, because resilience without character really is just hamster on a wheel. You cannot have one without the other. The next point I want to talk about is stop trying to stand out in a crowded room. Stop trying to stand out in a crowded room. Just stand up. You know, everyone is saying, hey, man, here's how you stand out in the world. Here's how you stand out. Here's to draw attention to yourself. No, you don't need to draw attention. You need to come to attention. Everybody want to draw attention. You don't need to draw attention. You come to attention. That means you give your attention to purpose and stand. And when you stand, you don't have to stand out. Because everyone who falls for the next fad will fall, leaving you standing. Everyone who falls for the next fad, who falls for the next Google trend, will fall and leave you standing. So your goal is not to stand out in a crowd. The world is already crowded. Over 8 billion people on planet Earth. You don't have to stand out. You just stand up. Stand for something. Stand for character in the face of resilience. And when you stand for something, I promise you, you will stand out. Stop trying to be like everyone else. Just stand for something. And don't fall for everything. Because the quickest way to fall is to fall for everything. Just stand for something and you will stand out. The reason why you can't stand out is because you have never stood up for you. You've never stood up for you, in you, by you. Most people work backwards. They want the house before the foundation. They want the car before the license. They want the riches before the investment. They want to pay, or they want the pay before the work. They want the glory before the commitment, and the status before the stick-to-itness. This is worth repeating. Most people who try to stand out in the crowd have it all backwards. They want the house before the foundation. They want the home before the house. They want the car before the license, the riches before the investment, the pay before the work, the glory before the commitment, and the status before the stick-to-itness. The best way to stand out is to truly believe in you, that the goals, the skills, the purpose that you're created for is for such a time. You know, I was asked to give a talk a few days ago at a family event. And one of the things I said was, we fail to understand our goals because we don't really take time out to dig deep enough. We don't dig deep enough. We believe on the surface. We don't believe all the way. We believe on the surface just enough to get us through today. But imagine if we believe all the way. Believing all the way is your way of standing up. Just stand. Stand. That's what resiliency is. The lighthouse. Just stand because you believe in something, not someone, but something. A purpose that's greater than you. Believe in, because the purpose is on the inside of you. It's not out there. No makeup, house, car, land, none of that stuff. It's going to fill you up so you can feel fulfilled. You'll end up feeling void because every day you're going to go out to get the next thing to fill the void, and it's not going to fill you up. Just stand. Just stand. The next thing I want to talk to you about, here's some pointers. I'm going to go through these real quick. Don't do what everyone is doing. Do what no one wants to do. Don't do what everyone is doing. Do what no one wants to do. No one wants to work on character. As a result, they're not resilient because character is a component of resiliency, and without resilience, you don't have character. Don't do what everyone is doing. Do what everyone don't want to do. The next one. People who stand up struggle because they are laying down. People who try to stand up struggle because they're laying down. How so? They have fallen and can't get up, and they think they're standing. They're falling for everything and think that they're standing. When you stand, it doesn't mean that you're perpendicular to the surface of the earth. It means that you have a purpose that is greater on the inside of you. That's what it means. When you stand, it means that you believe that there is something that you're called to do. When you stand, it means that you understand and you overstand and you believe that for such a time as this, your purpose will be revealed. You are called to impact the earth. You are called to impact the globe. You are called to, I know you may say, Andrew, I can't see the globe. I can't see the earth. I can't see the nations. Well, you are called to impact your home first. You are called to impact your work, your place of work. You are called to impact your neighborhood. So start there. Start you first, impact you first, then impact your home, then impact your neighborhood, then impact your community, and then your city, and then from your city, then your country, then your country, then your region, then your region, then your nation, and then internationally, then globally. Start inside here. The next point I want to give you is like a building. People who build understand will not last because the tests, the struggles of life will wash their efforts away. People who build their house on a stand will not stand because the test of life, the struggles will wash their efforts away. You see, when you have resiliency, when you are resilient, if you notice the water that flashes up and splashes up on the light tower, the tower still sits there, stands there. The tower doesn't move. The water moves. That means if you keep standing, even the toughest of time will pass. Will come to pass. If you just keep on standing, I'm going to give you this example. You know, they say the lion is the king of the jungle, right? Yes, he is. Have you seen a lion attack another animal, an elephant, a larger animal than himself? What do? They just jump and lock onto the vital part and they never let go. They just literally hang on until the weight and the burden and the grip and commitment that they have to that animal's vital part caves in and takes the life of the animal. What are you committed to? What are you willing to grip your teeth into? What are you willing to put some skin in the game too. What are you willing to do that no one wants to do? I need you to think about that. I need you to think about you, think about your fingerprint, because it's an individual, it's specific to you only. No two people have it. How will you use what you're given to transform the world? Starting with you first, then your home, then your community, then your neighborhood, then your country, region, whatever. Start with you first. I want to give you this acronym. It's called ROCK. It's called ROCK. Instead of building your home or your future on the sand, that the struggles of life will come and wash your efforts away. Build it on a rock. Build it on a rock. And here's how you do that. R is for reliable. You want to be reliable. You want to be able to be one of those individuals that can be counted on. A reliable person never fails. Be reliable. The rock is reliable. The sand is not. Reliable also can be seen as consistency. That means you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. If you're going to be standing, you are standing. That's what I want you to do. Be reliable. Be optimistic. Optimistic that better days are coming. Don't matter how bad it gets, better days are coming. Be confident and consistent. Commit, collaborate. Be curious to learn to create more than you can consume. That's the C in rock. Be confident, consistent, committed, collaborate with others. Be curious to learn to create more than you consume. That makes you a rock. And the K, I want you to be kind to others, because you just never know who your next customer is. You know, the Bible said that we entertain angels unaware. We should be kind to strangers because we entertain angels unaware, not knowing it, that we're entertaining an angel. So I want to encourage you. Be kind to others, because you don't know who your next customer is going to be. The reason why I said it is because everyone's a customer. You may not be selling them something, but you're going to be providing them a service. That service could simply mean helping somebody across the road. That service could just be giving somebody a positive remark or comment, saying something positive about them, encouraging them. Everyone is your customer. Starting with you. Most people are not compassionate. They don't have self-compassion. They don't have self-love. They think negatively of themselves, the mindset that they have towards themselves. Wow. You know, there's a scripture in the Bible that talk about we should treat others as we want them to treat us. I often reflect on that, because most people don't like themselves. Most people hate themselves. Most people will kill themselves. Most people want to hurt themselves. They cut themselves. They take bad substance in so they can get a high, but this bad substance damaged their inside. So how can I treat others as I want them to treat me? Because I treat myself terrible. Let's say, for example, I treat myself terrible. I treat my body terrible. So that means I want them to do the same thing that I do for myself. So I want you to think about that. Do you treat others the way you treat yourself? And I want to ask you one more question. How's that working for you? If it's not working, fix it. Fix it. And the last part of what I want to talk about here is to copy the map of others. Copy the map of others. It means they will leave examples. Copy those examples. Learn from it, but come off with your own conclusion. You want to copy the map of others. You want to learn from them. That means whatever mistakes they made, because even though they have a map, it doesn't mean it's perfected. It means that there are imperfections in the map, and then they may have made a turn. They may have made a turn that was not designed for you. So you want to copy the map. The map is mean you're committed to something, but what I want you to do is to learn from it. That's your purpose for copying the map. Learn from it, but at the end of the day, you want to come to your own conclusion. And lastly, as we come to a close, lessons learned are more precious than the methods borrowed from others and unmade mistakes. I'll say it again. Lessons learned are more precious than methods borrowed from others and unmade mistakes. The lessons that you learn, the conclusion that you come to is more vital than the methodologies that you borrow from other people. It's more vital than the mistakes you never made. Because if you never made any mistake, then you're not getting better, you're not improving, you're not growing, not expanding. And the last point, stop doing what they do, saying what they say, believing what they believe, thinking their thoughts, and becoming what they are being. I'll say it again. Stop doing what they do. Stop saying what they say, believing what they believe, thinking their thoughts, and becoming what they are being. You were designed for greater. But the only way you can be great, the only way that you can impact this world, starting with you, then your home, then your family, community, and moving outwards, is when you know your purpose, that you have character with you. And the character is the most important component that determines resiliency. You can't be resilient without character. And it's impossible for you to have character without being resilient. My name is Andrew E. Guy. You can find me out there at andrewguyspeaks.com. Want to subscribe to my podcast? That is youtube.com /@ Andrew Guy Speaks. Tune in to our episode of the Isla podcast. I'm listening, I'm ready. It's the podcast is dedicated for those who are on the go. And I want you to run over there to Win Where You Are and pick up a copy of the upcoming book, Win Where You Are. And I want you to go ahead and get out there and get this book. This one here is The Anatomy of the Kingdom and the Power of Community, Exchanging Religion for a Life of Function and Purpose. Over 200 pages of enlightenment that will transform your life. The next book is Work Your Words, Finding Your Pathway to Personal Success. This Work Your Words basically is a book that everyone's got to read. It's a life and self-communication book that helps you to say the right things to yourself. And so you can reflect on the things that you sell and think about that if you work the right words, then they will pay you. So why not work the right words instead of the wrong words? And the next book that's coming up, it is called Win Where You Are. Stop Waiting to Become. I want you to understand that if you win where you are, you will get the opportunity to go to the next step. All right. Again, Andrew E. Guy. You can like me out there on Instagram. That is Instagram, which is the Andrew Guy Speaks on Instagram. You can follow me out there on Twitter, Andrew Guy Speaks. You can follow me out there on LinkedIn, Andrew Guy Speaks. You can subscribe, mash the subscribe button right there. And I want you to put in that reminder. Hey, hit the bell, ring the bell to make sure that when we drop new content, I'm talking content that's going to revolutionize your thinking. Smash the bell, hit the like, leave a comment and let us know how this impacted you. Until then, name is Andrew E. Guy. Hey man, I'm gonna take a sip of for my TED cup. I'll see you then. Take care.